That would help. Okay, there we go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our RBC Lunch and Learn series, today presented by the J. Herbert Smith Center and myself, Jade. So today we have joining us Alicia Sharp, CEO and founder of Upfront Cosmetics. Upfront Cosmetics is a company that I've personally seen grow a lot over the last year and a half, as Alicia has developed it from her early startup to what it is today. Alicia's journey started with us, at least for the center at the Summer Institute, and she's still an avid part of our community and is always willing to chat with budding entrepreneurs and other people as well. So without further ado, I will bring in Alicia onto the stage. So hello, Alicia.
Hi, Jade. How are you?
Not bad. And yourself? I know
Good. It's great to be here with you
better,
today. Yeah. Broken
absolutely.
foot we could do without the broken foot, but it's okay.
Absolutely. So I did a little bit of an introduction, but why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself and kind of your who you are and what Upfront Cosmetics is?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. So I'm Alicia. I'm the founder of Upfront Cosmetics. So we're an eco-friendly hair care company based out of Nakwik, so just outside Fredericton. We focus on shampoo and conditioner bars. So each of our bars replaces 2 to 3 bottles of liquid shampoo. I got my start into entrepreneurship in kind of a not typical way. If you would have asked me 2 years ago if I would have been sitting here talking to other people, I would have said absolutely no. I wouldn't have thought I had anything to talk about. My journey was untypical. I was looking for products for my children. I'm a young new mom. I have 2 toddlers, and I was looking for products I felt safe using on them and that were eco-friendly. And it really just expanded from there. You know, I was really fortunate. I was chosen to be in the Summer Institute, and that has taken my business from a very small attending craft fairs business to being in 200 plus stores worldwide. So that's a little bit about me.
Absolutely, and thank you for that. Sorry, I keep having technical difficulties today, and I think it's just some internet connectivity issues. But so for you, what was it like making the jump to a full-time entrepreneur?
Terrifying. Especially being a mom of 2, making that decision to be like, okay, I am doing this full time and we're going to do this was terrifying. But it's probably been the best career decision I've made to date.
I know we've talked about this, you and I, in the past, but so what was your career before becoming a full-time entrepreneur?
So, in years gone past, by trade, I'm a human services counselor. So I was working in places like child protection, special care homes. Most definitely, if you would have asked me when I was going to college if I saw myself as an entrepreneur, I would have said no. But I found myself in this position that I love what I'm doing. And I love that as an entrepreneur and as a business owner, I can choose to give back, and I can choose to get back to my core values of helping people and helping the planet through my business.
Absolutely. And I know of some of the ways you've given back, of course, through your company and through some of the stuff you're doing, but why don't you highlight a couple of those sort of initiatives that you've
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so most recently, when the pandemic first started, we partnered with Boys and Girls Clubs of Canada, and for every single bar that we sold, we donated one back to a Boys and Girls Clubs across Canada. We donated just under $20,000 worth of products to Boys and Girls Clubs across Canada, and that's really just goes back to my own personal core values. Like I've said, I'm a mom, and I just can't imagine people struggling and not having access to things like shampoo. And it was something so simple that we could do to be able to help families that it was just a no-brainer. We're also a part of 1% for the planet. So 1% of our annual profits goes back to environmental giving. And part of that is we plant a tree for every single order that's placed through One Tree Planted. And for November and December of this year, $1 from every product that's sold is going back to a Christmas angel tree that's through the Fredericton Food Bank. So basically what that is they reach out to families that might not be able to afford gifts. They then take all this and write it down, and they put the angels on a tree in the mall, and you can go in as a business or as a person and buy the toys for these kids. So it's a really important thing as a business owner and as a mom that we give back. You know, our community has built us to where we are, and being able to give back is everything.
Absolutely. Sorry, I'm just writing notes as we go along. So I know, like personally, for the last, I don't know, 7 or 8 years now, I've also given back, especially to the Christmas Angels. It's been something that I do every year because I honestly think that kids should have something really great to see on Christmas morning, and I think it's a really good way of kind of giving to them. Uh, and speaking of community, you give back to your community, you connect with your community. Um, but how have you gotten to this audience? How did you find your audience in the first place?
It came with a lot of brand recognition and really just building a brand that I was proud of. And, you know, I remember sitting at the Summer Institute and saying to Dom and Durendra and you and Joe that I was choosing an uphill battle to do things the way that I was going to do it, with not using plastic and not using the cheaper ingredients. But I wouldn't do it any other way. All of the decisions that we've made have built our brand, and our audience came with the brand that we built. You know, the people that we sell to, they're also involved in their community, and they care about giving back. And it helps us grow as a brand when we give back, because people see that we're not just taking all of our profits and running away with it. We're reinvesting that money in our communities.
Absolutely. And green initiatives are especially important nowadays, especially with the whole push for Canada to get rid of single-use plastics, for example. And I know your business has taken some of these steps already, but again, let's highlight some of these things. What have you done with your company to really live this green initiative?
So one of the biggest things that we do, that I saw as an entrepreneur and before an entrepreneur, as a mom that was buying stuff online, because we live in a day and age where we buy everything on Amazon, was that all of my packages that I was getting in the mail were coming wrapped in plastic, with plastic tape, you know, plastic around the products, plastic fill in the boxes. So one of the things that we do is, obviously our bars are plastic free and they're not in a plastic bottle, but we don't use any plastic packaging when we ship. So, you know, we use a water activated tape, we use all cardboard boxes, we use craft paper fill. So it's really about those little details that make the bigger difference at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And as someone who's seen you ship out your products and seen how some of these products have evolved over time, it's amazing to see on the scale that you're doing it, that you're producing these products and then shipping them out to hundreds and thousands of people across the country, across the US, and that it's connecting with them. It's showing that you really are making this green initiative to give back to your community, but also, you know, reduce your carbon footprint as well.
And that was super important to us right from the get-go, that we didn't just talk the talk, but we walked the walk. And we didn't just say we were going to be eco-friendly, we did it. Even when we ship wholesale orders out, we purchased the carbon offset through UPS. So that's just one more thing that we're doing to help do our part.
Mm-hmm. And so you're moving into what I assume is a really busy time of the year for you, as well as many other retailers as well. And, you know, this is going to be a different year for everyone, right? This is the year that we weren't expecting it to sort of be like this. So with that in mind, that you're coming up to a busy season, and what else has happened? What sort of effects have you seen in your sales trends for you know, holiday season, but also with COVID in mind as well?
So, I mean, COVID has most definitely affected us. We've been super fortunate with the push to shop local. And even we've seen a big push for eco-friendly products throughout the pandemic, but we've definitely seen, we typically attend some larger Christmas gift shows, and wholesale shows at that. So we've seen the effects, but we are busier than we were last year. We're probably 3 times busier than we were last year. The pushing entrepreneur in me would like me to be 6 times busier than we were last year, but I'm accepting that we're busy and we're fortunate to still be in business. So I'm accepting that that is okay.
And absolutely. And as a product that is heavily involved with cleanliness and what's going on this year, I expect that that has actually had some positive benefits for you as well, right? People are looking to find those local products that will also, help keep sanitation up as well, right? So,
Yeah, absolutely.
um, uh, so how do you keep up with some of those latest trends and information that help you make your strategies going forward?
We look at trends, but we try to stick true to our core values about what we're doing, and we try not to hop on trends of things going on. And we just, we have a core set of values that we want to be honest and transparent, and we stick to that. And it's probably been the best thing that we could have done, was to just stay true to what we were doing. I've seen a lot of great businesses shift, and they've brought in other products. And I will never forget that the first day that I was in the Summer Institute, someone said, you need to choose. Like, you need to choose what products you're going to do and go with them. And it was the best thing I could have done. So just sticking with what we're doing and do what we're doing really well, instead of bringing on new products or switching focus, just to focus on what we are doing and keep doing that really well.
I remember those conversations very well about
Yeah.
understanding what your product offering was, and focusing down on what is the best impact that you can have with one product. Because you had amazing products, but you really focused down on those shampoo bars, and they
Yeah.
have been incredibly popular, incredibly effective for getting a company from New Brunswick across not just Canada but the U.S. as well, and in other
Right.
markets as well. So I applaud you for the amazing work you've been doing and all the great stuff you've been up to. And to the point of sticking to your values and how it's worked for you, uh, do you think that other companies should be doing that sort of thing, or uh, do you think other companies should look at the trends and sort of stuff like that?
I think that depends on what you want your company to be. For me, sticking to our core values is how we grow our business. Doing the same thing, and predictability. People expect the same things from us. They're not like, what are they going to do next? They expect the same thing. So for us, that's been great. And I mean, other businesses, the shift has been, I can think of some great businesses in Fredericton that switched their manufacturing to hand sanitizer. And like, kudos to them. That is amazing. For us, that didn't make sense. But if that's what you need to do to get through these such unprecedented times, then absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. Like adaptation right now is very important for people to survive. It Again, it's unprecedented. No one expected this to be the year of COVID and
Right.
lockdowns and all sorts of things going on that would stop businesses from being able to, sell their products in the normal way. Um, but for everyone to realize this and to adapt to those sort of situations is very key, as you said. Now, speaking of sales, though, there without sales, without revenue, there isn't a business at all. And I think it's very important for people to learn, what was it like being your own salesperson early on?
Terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying to approach stores and pitch them, which, if we remember back to pre-Summer Institute, I was terrified to pitch. I would cry before every pitch. I think the first time that I didn't cry before a pitch was on pitch night. And so just like being my own salesperson in the beginning was, I didn't expect rejection, but you have to expect it. Not every store or every person that you pitch to is going to buy your stuff. And I think the most important thing that if I could go back and tell myself was to expect that and be okay with it. Learn from that, you know, why did this not go right? What can I do better next time to make that with a different outcome?
And how did you prepare yourself for that? How did you go to that, fear of rejection sort of mindset to, you know what? No is okay.
Honestly, we got so busy that I just had to accept it. You know, and move on. And I couldn't let myself just loathe in some stores saying no or some people not liking the product, because there were 10 people to everyone or 100 to everyone that did like it and did want it. So your target audience is not going to be everyone. Not everybody is going to like your product. And I think that's something super important as an entrepreneur to recognize, that you are not going to be able to sell to everyone. Everyone is not going to like the thing that you have.
So how did you get yourself in that mindset for pitching then? How did you go from terrified to, I could pitch this product any day, every day?
I think just practice. Honestly, there was never really a moment where I was like, this is okay. It's still sometimes terrifying to pitch people and that fear of rejection, but I just have to remember that that's what I'm doing. This is a part of rejection, is as big a piece of the pie as getting the sale is, and it's just as important and it's just as valuable.
Absolutely. Personally, I love when people say no, because that means I can learn from that experience and also, move on from it. I'm not being held on to this, oh, maybe,
Yes.
oh, give me a second, having that no, a solid no is a great thing, I think, in life to have, because then so what are your top tips, I guess, for pitching? What are your top 3?
Really knowing your product. Knowing your product is really important, and knowing why it's unique and what your value proposition is. Like, you need to be able to spit it off the top of your head in like less than a minute. Tell people what your product is, why they want it, and what makes it different. You know, nobody wants to sit and listen to you for 5 minutes. You need to be able to catch them. You need to have something. So my thing is explaining to people that our bars replace 2 to 3 bottles of shampoo. That's the first thing I tell people, because it's just enough of a catch that they stop and go, oh, I want to know more about that. Like, you need to explain that to me, because how does this small bar do that? So it's finding that really interesting, and it often is tied to your value proposition, but just figuring out your elevator pitch, like what is going to get me the interest of people.
That one key thing that makes them stop and say, hold on, wait, go back to that for a second.
Exactly.
I just want to bring up something real quick, just because we do have a comment, but it's not a question, but it's just a comment that I thought you might want to see. As a user of your shampoo and conditioning bars, I just want to say how amazing they are. For anyone who hasn't tried them, I strongly recommend. So our viewers out there are people who are using your products and who are really enjoying what they do. And I think that shows to your connectivity to your community that, you have this product that is making that connection to people.
That's really amazing. And it's still very surreal every time I see someone or hear someone talking about the products, and there's this level of disconnect between, they don't know that I'm the owner, but they know about Upfront. And it's very surreal when people, I'll be in a store and they'll see the products and be like, oh, I really like them. So it's very surreal, and I appreciate everyone's support. We wouldn't be where we are without our customers.
Absolutely. And that connectivity with customers and connecting with your audience. I know we spoke about it from a value side, a value proposition side, but there is another side of it too, where it comes down to marketing and putting the message out there. So what have you found has connected with your audience from a marketing standpoint?
Just the transparency that we give in all levels of our business, whether that's, listen, guys, the post is really slow right now. We need to make sure you get your orders in if you want them by Christmas, or we do use preservatives and this is why we use them, And just education and transparency has probably been our biggest marketing points. Is just we want to do things differently, and in order to do things differently, we have to explain to people why we're doing them, and that's been our strongest marketing point. And connecting with people, I answer probably a dozen messages every day between Facebook and email and Instagram, people asking, would this shampoo bar be good for this, or what ingredients are in it? And I think really just being honest with them and connecting with them has grown our brand substantially.
Absolutely. And again, like, I've seen it. I've seen the product. I've seen the growth of it, and I've seen you sell this product to people at the final demo day, for example, and talking to them, and doing this education component has been really key for people to, like you said, this replaces 2 to 3 bottles, and telling them and educating them, like, this is how it replaces 2 to 3 bottles of your product.
Right.
Like, that's been so important for people in your community to connect with you. So I know in the past, like I said before, you were your own salesperson early on, and I know you've grown your team a little bit since then. Do you still handle the sales primarily by yourself, or do you have someone who is helping you with that as well?
Myself and my office manager, Alyssa, do the majority of our sales. We're looking to add a salesperson strategically soon, but it's just myself, and Alyssa was my first employee, and she's grown with the company, and we've grown so close to doing it. It's hard to let go and let somebody else take over that role. And, we have expectations of how we want them to treat customers, the things that we say. So I do have some help with it. We would like more help, but good help is hard to find. And we're sticking with doing it ourselves. And I don't mind that. I don't mind if half of my week is taken up with answering customers and stores questions and reaching out to them.
Yeah, for sure. And again, it does still show that connectivity that you have if you're the one doing the answering at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And you've had a lot of growth in the last year by this. So what do you think are some of your major factors for your growth has been?
That's a tough one, because oftentimes I will find myself sitting and being like, we need to grow faster. And then I sit and I look, and we went from being in the Summer Institute to having no stores that carried Upfront Cosmetics to not even a year and a half later, we have 200 stores. That's something that I never could have imagined in my wildest dreams. So yeah, I think consistency and just working on it every day and never feeling like I'm finished. I don't think I ever go to bed or ever end a day being like, okay, there's nothing left to do. There's always something to do. And I could always work until 11 o'clock at night if I let myself. Self-care is important, so I try not to. But I really think it's been consistently reaching out to people, consistently getting our products in the hands of influencers, in other stores. We're always looking for the next big thing.
It's interesting you talk about influencer marketing. I know influencer marketing is a relatively sort of new thing that's happened over the last, I'd say, decade or so, especially with Instagram and everything that's been going on. How do you connect with your influencers?
It's two-tiered. Some of the bigger ones we reach out to, and use a similar pitch along the lines of what we pitch to stores. But we do offer an affiliate program, so they can have their own coupon code that gets them 10% back in sales. So it's not just, instead of paying for the posts, the better their post does and the more sales we get, the more money they get back from it. And then we get a fair amount of them that reach out to us, that find us through the strategic hashtags that we use on Instagram, which has been something, honestly, in my wildest dreams, I never would have imagined would have been so important. But strategically making sure that we're posting under hashtags that are relevant to what we're doing. We've grown our brand a lot from that, and we've found a lot of influencers have reached out to us. They find us and they like what we're doing and they want to represent us.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I know a lot of I know some people have reached out to brokers before and that sort of thing, but to have influencers reach out to you, you're doing something great, right? So that means that, again, your messaging is, once
Yeah,
again, as we get back to it, your messaging is connecting with them on a level that they say, I need to be part of this story. I need to be part of this journey.
right.
Um, so I've got two questions here, but it's okay. Uh, you talked about strategic hashtags, and I just want to go down that little path for a quick second. It's a major part of marketing right now, figuring out what your hashtags are. How did you do it?
We looked at not competing brands with shampoo bars, but other people in the clean beauty space. So we went through hundreds of posts to see what they were using, how big of a hashtag we're talking about. Everybody can use the hashtag shampoo bar. The likelihood of people ever picking you up or seeing you from that is slim to none. There's something like 4 million posts with that hashtag. So we're looking for the smaller ones that have 10 to 20,000 that people are following. And it's been a learning process, and it's taken time, and we've ditched some and come back to some that we weren't using before. But it's really a learning process. And we add new ones and take new ones away. We use a planning, it's called Planoli. It's an Instagram planning. So we have certain different sets that, depending on what we're posting about, we use that particular set of hashtags because we feel that that's the most relevant to what we're posting about.
That's super cool to see that there's like, well, to see a
Yeah.
tool specifically just for like knowing which thing to sort of post about.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Uh, all right, I'm going to rewind a little bit because
Okay.
you mentioned something that I think is very important, and it's about what I'll call the grind, or the constant thought process that there's always something to do, especially as an entrepreneur. I was wondering if you had any advice to potential entrepreneurs out here right now about how to balance the grind.
Yep. No, absolutely. And I don't do it good some days. Some days I will work until 11 o'clock at night, but I try very hard to start work at 4:30 or at 8:30 and be done at 4:30. Yeah. I don't start that late in the day. But no, it's really important because you will get yourself burnout. And I had seen a thing on Facebook, probably it was at the beginning of the pandemic, that if you don't take time for your wellness, you have to take time for your illness. And I will fall into that rabbit hole more times than one. And my fiance and my parents will tell me, you need to slow down, you need to take time for yourself. And then I inevitably end up sick. And then I have to take time. And it's really inconvenient when you're sick and there's orders that need packed up. So just taking time for yourself, what are I often find myself saying this to my office: what are the fires we need to put out today? What are the immediate things we need to do? We can deal with those, and then we'll work on the other things. That there's always work to do, because it's not going to matter as a small business and an entrepreneur. There's always going to be something to do, but it doesn't always all need to be done at once.
That's great advice. Again, I know in my own sort of ventures and everything that I've done in my my own past, I find myself sometimes working a little too hard on things and end up burning out myself. So knowing that
Absolutely.
there's, yeah, and that's it. Like taking a break, stopping, spending time with family, or taking a moment just to have a breath. I
Great.
personally, I think is really important, and it's good to hear that it's not just myself who sort of has to fight with that problem.
No, I do all the time, and I just did last night. I was like 10 o'clock and I was still on my computer, and I was like, I don't need to be. I need to take time for me. There's nobody comes ahead working first thing in the morning till all the way at night continually. When we have deadlines, sure. But as a daily thing, you're not gonna come ahead.
For sure. And like, look, for entrepreneurs out there who are watching right now, it is a grind and it is a constant journey. And sometimes it might feel kind of lonely at the same time too. But you know, take the time to connect, take the time to disconnect as well, to have your time alone or have your time with people away from your business. Put it
Yeah.
down for a second and have a breath. It's okay to do that. So here's another hard question, at least in my own mind. Um, a lot Starting your own business is hard, and a lot of it is about raising funds and getting money to expand, getting money to pay other people. But one of the biggest hurdles I've heard entrepreneurs talk about is the hurdle about paying yourself. Uh, what are your advice and what's your tips on getting over that hurdle?
Um, I I only recently started paying myself, but I think that is valuing your time. Your time is worth just as much as your office manager or your production or whoever you're paying. Your time is worth just as much as theirs is. And I understand in that first year that it's not always feasible, but for me it was really important to build my business to a point where I could pay myself, because I that was the whole point of getting into being an entrepreneur, was being self-employed, and you're not really self-employed if you don't pay yourself. So it's we've all been there where funds are tight, and your pay is the first one that doesn't happen, and that still happens, and that's normal when you're a startup. But valuing your own time is just as important.
Absolutely. And yeah, I like asking that because I know I've had it in the past. I know I've talked to so many entrepreneurs where, paying yourself is the hardest hurdle for them because they always see it like, we have to take care of our people. And I know that we have to take care of our people. We have to take care of whoever else is out there. But I've also heard people say, but you also take care of yourself too. Don't forget that.
Exactly.
Um, so I recently saw a post that said, people don't buy commodities, they buy feeling. Do you agree with that?
I do. So we're actually going through our B Corp certification, and that is a big part of it. People don't buy products, they buy your company values, at least in small up and coming brands. They want to know what you're doing, and they don't want companies that aren't doing other things and don't have good core values behind them. I will stand true to, if you have good core values and you have a good product, you will succeed. It may take time, but you will succeed, and you have to stick close to your core values.
For sure. And finding that core product, or that, like, like you said, core value, but also a really good product. Finding a good product isn't an easy process. How did you do it?
So as many of you probably don't know, but when I came to the Summer Institute, we had something like 50 or 60 products that I was selling. And actually, right in my interview, one of the designers said, like, what, and it was the hardest question I answered. He said, what is the one product that you're going to go forward with? You can't take all of them. It's not possible to take all of them. And I see that now. And it was a gut reaction. I knew when I went to the Summer Institute that the shampoo bars were something that I wanted to focus on, but it was really the only thing that we were doing different. The other products were just things that we could also sell. They were your upsells. They are the things that you see at the checkout that people just buy. But the shampoo bars were what people were coming to us for, because there wasn't really something like that available the way that we were doing it. So I didn't know it then, but it was absolutely about finding the one product that had a unique value proposition that made us different.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And again, I was there at the start, so I saw the 50 products that you had.
Right.
And they're amazing products, but the amount of sales that you told us about just the shampoo bars and you pushing forward with that, I think that was a key factor
Absolutely.
of growing the whole Upfront Cosmetics brand. So I'm just going to rewind for another second and just talk about sort of funds and money for a second. So
Yeah.
raising funds is a difficult process.
Yeah.
You know that. I know that. What can you advise entrepreneurs about getting money?
I think understanding how much money you need and understanding there are a ton of resources out there. Especially in Fredericton, we have multiple different places that you can access funding from. But really just understanding what sort of money you need and probably adding 15% to it, because there's always, you think something is going to cost them, but there's always going to be that first hurdle. And that first time you do something, there's always going to be hidden costs. So, yeah, I personally bootstrapped everything for the first year. And that's why I didn't pay myself. We were fortunate to access an ACOA loan and a few other loans that helped us get to where we are. But I did not take any money from the beginning. I bootstrapped everything. So that's important too. I think being able to get your product to market, in my case, I understand that that's not the case for everyone, but for me, I was able to get my product to market without ever taking a loan and just paying for it all myself.
That's not the easiest process for a lot of people, but that's a hard path. That's a hard journey to take for sure. And understanding your needs, it's directly linked to knowing your finances, knowing that sort of thing.
Yeah.
What would you recommend? How would you recommend budding entrepreneurs out there get a better handle on financials?
Find a really good mentor that knows what they're talking about. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I am like, financials are still my point of weakness, to the point where I had a meeting with Joe last week to get him to help me figure out what I was doing. I understand it, but it's not what I went to school for. So find somebody that is what they're good at and get them to help explain it to you. And I think the biggest mistake we can make as entrepreneurs is not understanding our financials.
I would absolutely agree. It doesn't matter what type of entrepreneur you are, you need to understand where the money is going, how it flows, and all the bits and pieces in between. So
right.
Getting a good wrap on that is a fundamental that you have to have, or else you will not have success.
Absolutely.
Speaking of mentors and advice, what is the best piece of advice you've received as an entrepreneur?
Oh, that's a tough one. Probably to not worry so much about it being perfect the first time. Like, if I look back to the very first iteration of our new product packaging, it looks nothing like what it is now. And just starting somewheres, like, progress over perfection, because it's not going to be, nothing is going to be perfect with your first product. And that's okay. People just want the product. So yeah, definitely progress over perfection, because we're still not, there's still things. Every time I order boxes, I'm like, we should add that, or we should do that a different way. And someday we'll get to the point where I'm really happy with it. I hope.
I remember the first boxes that you had with Upfront Cosmetics, and the fight to have it being perfect. But eventually you got boxes, you put them on a shelf, and did they ever pop?
They did, absolutely. I remember the first one, it looked more like a periodic table of elements design is what they were going for. And I remember thinking, nope, that's not it. But that's okay. It takes time to figure out what your brand is going to be. And it's okay if you don't have a brand yet. You can build on that.
So let's talk about that a little bit, because your brand has evolved. Your company was not called Upfront Cosmetics when it first entered the Summer Institute.
It wasn't. That's right. So brand has been probably the biggest thing that we have worked on in the past year and a half. We started out, when I applied for the Summer Institute, it was handmade by Alicia. We had still all the same core values, but I wasn't telling people about them. They were what were in my heart that I wanted to do and how I wanted to do things. But I learned very early on that all of those things that I was saying, those were the important things. You know, when I was sitting in a design thing and I was like, no, like, I don't want to use sulfates. Like, I don't care if they're cheaper. And well, you need to tell people that. Like, you need to tell them all these things that you're making decisions about and what's affecting your products. Those are the things that are important. So the things that we don't use and the way we do things have become what our brand is.
I know brand discovery is constant for any startup, for any business whatsoever. And it's not just about what you see, it's about the feelings, it's about the statements that, like you said, this is what we're doing and why we're doing it, and that sort of stuff.
Right.
And it's important to have those key pieces. But there's also a design component to it, right? What are some of your experiences with design and kind of balancing act between, you know, design and getting the product out the door too?
I think just being open-minded, because I didn't really have a picture in my head of what I wanted them to look like. You know, some people, they have a picture and they know what they want, but I didn't know. I knew I wanted it to represent what we were, but I didn't know what that visually looked like. So that was a challenge, trying to get our brand to have a vision to it and a look to it. But we've accepted that evolves and it will change. So I've learned to be accepting and that things aren't always going to look the same, and that's okay.
Absolutely. And again, there's a margin of error in everything that you have to just accept. I want to just circle back though to mentors and advice. And I know you've found some mentors over the years that have really helped you build your business or helped you through some of the challenges that you've gone through. What do you look for in a mentor? Let's start there.
Somebody that believes in me. And I think that was the biggest thing that I got out of the Summer Institute, was a group of people that believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. I remember our first thing that we did with the Summer Institute, and, you know, Joe said, like, how much money do you want to make? We can build a business to make however much you want to make. And I sat there and I didn't know, because I didn't believe in myself enough to think that it could ever be anything more than what it was. So I think it's really important to find someone that believes in it and really can get on board with the vision that you have if you're looking for a mentor.
That's great. And as a recap to those people watching out there, a year and a half ago, 0 stores, now in over 200. So the vision was there. The vision was always there, Alicia, or else you wouldn't have been part of the Summer Institute.
Right.
So anyway, that's what I just wanted a quick aside on that part. So somebody that believes in you and your journey and your product. And how would you advise people find a really good mentor?
That's a tough one. I was fortunate because my mentors were handed to me when I started the Summer Institute, but I think we have a really great network for entrepreneurs in Fredericton through multiple different places. And I think just starting by reaching out to any of them, almost all of them have mentorship programs that you can access a mentor. And it doesn't have to be difficult, and it doesn't have to be somebody that knows everything. Sometimes it can just be somebody that you need to vent to and be like, I have this thing going on and I need somebody's advice, even if it's not their expertise. Just having that extra person to be like, does this make sense? Am I going crazy? Like, I feel like I don't know what I'm doing, and that's okay. And just, that's been really big to have somebody to bounce those kind of things off of.
Absolutely. I find that when I'm in a vacuum and start thinking about ideas, I'm like, yeah, it's totally a great idea. And then I'll suddenly go to someone and be like, all right, I've got this amazing idea to do this thing. And then instantly they're like, but did you think about this or this or this? It's like, oh, shoot, no, I didn't.
Right, exactly. It's super valuable, because I would much rather somebody be like, that's probably not a good idea, before you go spend all the money to do the idea.
Well, that's it. You don't want to. Well, you don't want to waste the time or the
Right.
resources going down a path that you think that isn't going to lead you somewhere great at the end of
Exactly.
the day, right? Speaking of the path, since we're running out of time here, and please, people, if there's anyone out there who has any questions or comments, please feel free to put them in the comments, of course. Um, if you were to leave entrepreneurs right now with a piece of advice about the path of an entrepreneur, what would that piece of advice be?
Probably that it's not easy. It's entrepreneurship isn't going to be an easy path, but it takes a special kind of person to be an entrepreneur. And you know that you can weather through the storms and the ups and the downs, and that it's okay to not have a good day. They're not all going to be great. Not every day is going to be amazing. And just to accept that.
Thank you. That's a great piece of advice, and like not just for entrepreneurship, of course, but for life in general. You're not always going to have a good day, but as an entrepreneur, yeah, sometimes it feels like it's always the bad days and not always the good ones. Um, so thank you so much, Alicia, for joining us today.
Thank
And
you.
for people watching out there, if you're looking for products for Upfront Cosmetics, please visit upfrontcosmetics.ca. It's an amazing website. You can get your products, and delivery, I will say from a personal experience, delivery is like wicked fast, especially if you're in the Fredericton region. And if it isn't, you will know why, because Alicia is very open about being communicative to all of her customers. And if you also are looking for an amazing program, gonna toot our own horn right now. We also have the Summer Institute. Alicia and I have both talked about it because, again, Alicia was part of our cohort, not this current summer, but the summer before. And to see the growth that Alicia has had over the last year and a half is amazing. And if you want to talk ever about the Summer Institute, you can reach out to us there at summerinstitute.com and connect with us to be part of the next cohort that'll be happening next summer, hopefully, as long as COVID doesn't kick us out of that as well. So, Alicia, again, I just wanted to say thank you again for being part of this. Thank you for taking the time to chat with me today. I think there's been a lot of really good information out there that our viewers can take it and use in their own companies. And I just want to say have a great day.
Thank you so much, Jade. It was great to see you. Have a good day.
You too. I'm just going to pull you off the stage now.
Yeah.
And thank you everyone out there for watching today's RBC Lunch and Learn series presented by the J. Herbert Smith Center. Next week, we have joining us our new professor here at the center, Maddie Hosseini. He will be speaking about some of the research he's been doing. So please join us next week to get an introduction to him and some of the research that he has been doing for over the last 2 years. Thank you for joining us, and please tune in next week and connect with us on all of our social media, on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and have a great afternoon, everyone.